Greetings. This is Doc Ock coming at you live and direct from Black Facts Headquarters Central here in lovely Kent, Ohio, with another evening of storytelling. Tonight, we continue on with the story of Marcus Mosiah Garvey, one of the most dynamic black leaders the world has ever seen. Matter of fact, he's probably the first black leader to be able to captivate the attention of black people worldwide. The first world leader, black world leader. Some say he had delusions of grandeur, but maybe maybe part of that comes with the territory. If you had that many people following you, would you be able to avoid delusions of grandeur? That would be the real question. Well, I can't answer that question right now, but what we can do is we can go ahead and get this party started. You know what you need to do. If you're watching on Facebook, give us a like. If you're watching on YouTube, how about a thumbs up? And then don't be a rube. Go ahead and give us a little lube by spreading the word far and wide to all your friends, your family, and even your enemies about what we're doing right here on Black Facts, if you please. It would certainly please us, that's for sure. So let's see what we got here today. From the mind of Marcus Mosiah Garvey, today's words of wisdom are: there is nothing in the world common to man that man cannot do. Another way he used to say that, what others have done, we can do. We can do what others have done. We can do what others have done. I believe he said it that way. We can do what others have done. So if you see somebody else doing it, you could be doing it too. Flying to the moon, anything like that. We could do any of those things. Absolutely. So now let's look around here and see what we can do tonight. All right. Marcus Mosiah Garvey, reading from the book. Our book of the night, Marcus Garvey, Black Nationalist, published by Chelsea Books under the Black Americans of Achievement, as part of the Black Americans of Achievement series by Coretta Scott King. She put her name to it. All right, so let's see what we got here. We're going to transition in here, see how this works. All right, never used this one before. This will be a little different. All right, and here we go. The UNIA's purpose was to unite Jamaica's black population behind the spirit of racial pride and a program of educational and economic opportunity. I see we're having a problem again. Let's see if we can get it fixed. All right, try it again. Let's see if it works this time. Furthermore, the UNIA vowed to work for the establishment of independent black-ruled nations. Okay, I see it's still not going to do what I want it to do. Try it one more time. Come on. Okay. Now try it. All right. Now let's see if that works. Now where was I at? Here we go. Okay, now we got it. The UNIA's purpose was to unite Jamaica's black population behind the spirit of racial pride and a program of educational and economic opportunity. Furthermore, the UNIA vowed to work for the establishment of independent black-ruled nations in Africa. This great dream could only be achieved, Garvey said, when blacks from around the world joined together and demanded that Africa be freed from colonial rule. Garvey intended the UNIA to be the standard bearer of international black protest. His organization would force the world's governments, to take notice of black unrest. These great plans would all take time. From the start, the UNIA had high ideals but limited funds. Membership dues raised only a small amount of money, and the organization depended on volunteer work. Garvey realized he had to address the immediate needs of Jamaica's poor to gain their support. The UNIA tried to attract recruits by offering a limited form of health insurance. But the main thrust of Garvey's program was to promote learning among the ill-educated peasants and workers. Most of these people saw little need for education, knowing they were destined to spend their lives laboring in the fields or on the docks. The UNIA planned to change this outlook. As his organization's traveling commissioner, Garvey visited many towns and villages in Jamaica in search of new members. Though many people listened to him, few were ready to join the UNIA. And fewer still had any organizational talents. Garvey had no qualms about pointing out his people's shortcomings, admitting that most of them were unfit for good society. Like Booker T. Washington, he believed that until the black workers became committed to self-improvement, they would be looked down upon by whites. He often used his own struggle to educate himself as an example for others. He told one audience, "I came from surroundings not better than many of you, but my mind lifted me out of my surroundings." In the books of his father and godfather, he had found the inspiration to become more than a common dock worker. And he had set his sights on becoming a leader of poor and oppressed people. "Nobody helped me toward that objective," he asserted, "except my own mind and God's goodwill." To help his people follow in his footsteps, Garvey organized lectures, debates, speaking contests, adult education classes, entertainments, and religious meetings. He also called for the establishment of colleges and vocational schools to allow all qualified students to attain higher education. But the one special project that consumed Garvey was his idea for a school modeled on the Tuskegee Institute in Alabama. Booker T. Washington's all-black school was known as an industrial college because it taught students the advanced skills they needed to pursue careers in a trade or business. Among the professors at Tuskegee was George Washington Carver, the agricultural genius, the peanut man, the scientist who had helped restore the economy of the American South, not just for black people, but the entire South after the Civil War. Carver had discovered many new uses for peanuts, soybeans, sweet potatoes, cotton, and other crops grown in the region. Garvey dreamed of building a school based on Tuskegee, one that would attract men like Carver and gain worldwide attention for the UNIA's proposed educational program. Many of the leading figures in Jamaica's white society, including the colonial governor and the bishop of the Anglican Church, encouraged Garvey's work, providing him with some financial support and attending UNIA social functions when invited. They were interested in his educational program, not his political views. Garvey, of course, was opposed to the whites' domination of the black population, and membership in his organization was restricted to people of his own race. But he favored racial cooperation in Jamaica. On the other hand, he believed that black society should remain separate from white society. "I want to have a Jamaica, a country of black and white, all living in peace and harmony, but with equal rights and opportunities. He said such a policy, he knew, would eventually bring Jamaica's black majority into power. Although Garvey received some support from prominent white liberals, Jamaica's colored middle class was openly hostile to the UNIA. The product of intermarriage between the races, the coloreds jealously guarded their position as intermediaries between blacks and whites. Although they were not allowed to hold any important offices in the government, the coloreds were usually wealthier and better educated than the blacks. They considered themselves more white than black and superior to the common black laborer. Most of them felt threatened by Garvey's racial solidarity movement. The option of joining the colored class had been open to Garvey. Normally educated blacks such as Garvey tried to improve their standing by marrying into the colored middle class. Those who did so were seeking to break their ties with fellow blacks, denying their quote-unquote inferior blood. Garvey could not make such a compromise. However, he knew that by refusing to do so, he was endangering some old friendships. I had to decide whether to please my friends and be one of the black whites of Jamaica and be reasonably prosperous, or come out openly and defend and help improve and protect the integrity of the black millions and suffer. End quote. Garvey wrote later, I decided to do the latter. Huey Newton called that revolutionary suicide. In other words, gaining the skills and the education to elevate oneself or put oneself in a particular class, but denying that class in order to use one's skills to help uplift one's brethren. Jamaica's colored leaders responded to Garvey's attempts to organize the blacks with scalding attacks on him in the local newspapers. I was openly hated and persecuted by some of those colored men on the island who did not want to be classified as Negroes, but as white. Garvey recalled, they hated me worse than poison. That's a quote. He was bitterly disappointed about the treatment he received from the coloreds. These were the educated people he had hoped would be at the forefront of the crusade for black advancement. Instead, they had rejected their African heritage. The coloreds' disdainful attitude toward their black ancestry produced an opposite reaction in Garvey. When Europe was inhabited by a race of cannibals, a race of savages, naked men, heathens, and pagans, Africa was peopled with a race of cultured black men who were masters in art, science, and literature, end quote. That's what Garvey taught the UNIA's members. The superiority of African to European civilization was to become a central point of his philosophy. He would continue to look back to an Africa inhabited by men who were cultured and refined, men who it was said were like the gods. By late 1915, however, Garvey was forced to recognize that his movement was struggling. The UNIA had attracted only about 100 members, and it was clear to the black population that the organization could do little to help them. Garvey admitted that he was finding his work harassing and heartrending. Much of his talk about the glories of ancient Africa was probably lost on impoverished farmers struggling to feed their families. In addition, his colored opponents had used their considerable influence to discredit the UNIA. White sympathizers whom Garvey was counting on to help fund a Jamaican Tuskegee Institute were, after World War I began in 1914, somewhat preoccupied with the news coming from the European battlefronts. Realizing that he would have to look elsewhere for the money to carry out his programs, Garvey decided to make a fundraising tour of the southern United States. He wrote to Booker T. Washington about his plans, hoping that Tuskegee's director would introduce him to American audiences. In late 1915, Garvey learned that Washington had died. Saddened by the loss of the man he so admired, Garvey nonetheless continued to prepare for his trip. He did not care that he had no friends in America, for he believed that it was his mission in life to lead his people, and wherever Garvey found members of his race living in oppression, he would also find followers. And that is the end of that particular chapter. So we'll go ahead and move on to, we're going to go ahead and close out for tonight, but we'll be back again tomorrow night at 9, and we will continue on with this biographical sketch of Marcus Mosiah Garvey, one of the most dynamic black leaders the world has ever seen. We hadn't seen one before him like this, and we haven't seen one since, who was able to garner a worldwide audience. And that is something that is important to note about Garvey. Any other leader you could think of before that did not have a worldwide audience. They had basically a local audience. They had an audience within their sphere of influence. Depending on how large that was would determine the size of the audience. But in this case, Garvey's audience was literally the 400 million black people of the planet Earth. So, powerful story, and that's why we're reading it. That's why we're putting it out there. With all of its warts and zits and starts and fits, we're putting it out there, and we'll let you be the judge. Was Garvey a good man, a great man, or was he just infamous? You be the judge. Meanwhile, for all you little children out there, you know what time it is. I do not give you a quiz. You know what you need to do. Take your little head and put it on your little pillow, on your little bed, and close those your eyes while you wait on that sun to rise. And when those sunbeams start beaming down on your eyes, you know that it's time for you to rise and shine, oh children of mine. So, lay your little head down now and get ready for the dawn of that new day, because there's a new day a-coming. And we want to rejoice in the new day from sun up to sundown. We want you to enjoy the day without a frown, and we certainly don't want you acting like a clown. But right about now, I need to talk to the adults because I got something for you to do too. We're coming up on the end of the first week here. Today is I believe today is the 6th, Friday the 6th. This is the 6th, August the 6th. Got one more day before this week is over, the 7th. That'll be tomorrow. So, for all you adults out there, you know what we need you to do. If you're watching on Facebook, give us a like. If you're watching on YouTube, give us that old thumbs up. And last but not least, go ahead and make a donation. You can do that. 5, 10, 15, 20. Even money says that you'll come out ahead. If you make a small donation now, you're still going to come out ahead because we're giving up free information every single day, 2 times a day. Reading from books that would cost you a mint if you had to try to reproduce the Crosby archives where we're getting our materials from here. It would cost you an absolute mint. Some of these books are literally priceless. So, pick up on what we're putting down and go ahead and give a donation without a frown. You can do it at our website, www.blakfacts.org. You can do it on Facebook. You can do it on YouTube. Go right below our descriptions if you're on your laptops or your desktops. If you're on your phone, go to the notifications column if you're on Facebook, and you'll see links where you can go ahead and make your donations there. But please do make a donation. It takes us, 60 days? 70 to 75 days before we will even see that donation. So you're investing in not only our future, but your future. So let's put those investments. Let's go ahead and make those investments. Okay. A little bit now will go a long, long way. So we appreciate all y'all out there. We see Tony over there. We're going to give her a little wave over here. And then we're going to go ahead and go to our extras. We're going to transition right on out. And we will see y'all. Oh, look for our playlist tomorrow. Tomorrow's playlist, Garvey Says. So look for that. It's going to be, what can I say? Inspiring, inspirational. It's going to be inspirational. So check it out. Check it out.